Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Well guys, we are down in Central Florida today and I'm visiting my good friend Jim Bollinger at Do-Rite Fab. And anyway, we've actually been doing some welding lessons today. He's been giving me some TIG welding lessons and he's going to have a little video on that on his channel coming up here soon. Yep. If you don't know Jim, he has a YouTube channel, Do-Rite Fabrication. Tell him about it.
So my channel is got a little bit of everything. It's kind of like a mix mash. A little bit of welding, a little bit of machining, a little bit of fabricating, a little bit of mechanicking, and a whole lot of family.
Right.
My channel is family friendly. You'll see my kids come in, and a lot of the stuff you see in my videos are honestly things I build for my kids. I build a lot of cool stuff for them.
Yeah, he definitely does. So anyway, if you haven't already, go check out his channel. I'm going to put a link to it down below in the description, and it's worth checking out. He's got some really good high quality stuff. But today we're going to do a shop tour. Haven't done one of these in a while, so we're going to kind of do a walk around in here and let him kind of tell us about some of the tools and machines that he has in here.
Good.
Let's do it.
Welcome to the shop.
Great. So what would a shop be without a lathe? The only thing I'm disappointed in, you only have one.
Well, I am somewhat limited on space. The shop is only 1,200 square feet. It's about 4 times the size of my previous shop. And so I have grown, just like everybody has, to reach the capacity for equipment. But I would be lost without my lathe. Unfortunately, this lathe has not been Keith Ruckered yet. It is not gray. It has not been restored. Although Derry did come down, he and I are pretty good friends. He came down and we went through the apron of the lathe together and discovered a few problems, got them straightened out. This is a 16-inch gap bed lathe. It's a Republic Lagoon. It's an early Republic Lagoon, meaning that it is Japanese made. It was made in Japan back when they were making real high quality lathes back then. It is a hardened bedway. And it's still, believe it or not, it's still very, very tight, even though it looks like it's been drugged behind a pickup truck. But you can't beat free or next for free. I mean, it did take a good bit of repairing to get it up and running, but she's been good to me.
Hey, that's all that matters, is cranking out good parts. And I'm always amazed, you can do pretty good work on a machine that's kind of worn out. So, but if you got one that's better, that's just always good. So.
Dale Derry gave me 2 thumbs up on the machine. He said it's pretty good, in pretty good shape, even though it doesn't look like it.
So Do-Rite Fabrication means you do a lot of fabricating, and to do that you got to have some welding machines, or as the case may be, they could just be a cat lounge, right? Yeah,
well, I mean, you know, the cat is very happy there, and he keeps mice to 0, so that's Tom the cat. He always eats Jerry the mouse, so he keeps everybody happy around here.
And I'll let you guys know that we started about 6:30 this morning doing this, yep. And it's probably 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The cat came in at 6:30 this morning and has been there all day long.
And he's not too afraid of most things that go on here. He's the most chill cat. You can call him like a dog. He comes like a dog. I'm not a cat person. Just let that be known to the world. I am not a cat person. But this is a pretty dadgum cool cat.
Well, tell us about your welding machines.
Obviously, they're red. I'm a big fan of Lincoln. You know, it's a Chevy Ford thing. I get that, right? But Lincoln Electric Company, you know, I teach for Lincoln. They've been really good to me. They stand behind all their equipment. Opposed to a lot of these overseas companies, you know, you buy it and then 6 months from now you can't get support. These all come with a big warranty, and to me it's, you know, it's about the company. They're an American-owned company, so you know, not everything is made in America, but you can't find everything that's made in America, but it is an American company. And believe it or not, Lincoln Electric invented the stick welder. They invented stick welding.
Yep. And just a little, I guess, plug for Lincoln Electric. Out at the museum, we've got a old, you know, Tombstone.
Yep, Tombstone 225.
That's it. You know, the ones, there's a gazillion of them. The thing, there's no telling how old, and but it still works great. But they had a little problem with it out at the museum, and the head guy over the maintenance and restoration department, he called the welding supply place, asked them questions like, we don't know. He called around about 4 or 5 different places. Nobody could help him with his question. He said, you know what, I'm going to just call Lincoln. So he got on the phone, called up Lincoln, just like that. He was on the phone with someone, and they walked him through exactly what he needed to do on a machine that has probably been out of warranty for 40 years.
Yep, and that's...
they stand behind their product.
Well, and that's kind of what my point is with standing behind a company like Lincoln. They're not perfect. There's other companies out there that make welding machines that weld really good, but when it comes down to the whole product you're buying, you're not just buying the machine, you're buying the company with it, so to speak.
Right.
So as far as welding machines go, I have an Aspect 375 water-cooled TIG welder. Over here, I have a Power MIG 210 MP, which is a small MIG. I have it spooled real small wire for doing artworky type stuff. It's 023 wire in there. Below it, I have a Tomahawk plasma cutter. And then next to it, I have, they no longer produce this machine. It's a V205. It's one of my favorite welding machines. It's another little TIG inverter, multi-voltage. It'll run on 110 or 230. I've carried it overseas to do repair jobs. And then down there, I just have a big MIG welder.
So if you're going to do any work in a shop, you got to have a good work surface to work on. And you really don't always think about your workbench as being a tool, but really your workbench is a tool. It's one of the most important tools you can have in the shop. And you've got a nice customized bench here. Tell us about it.
Well, first of all, it is built for me. I'm almost 6'5" when I stand up straight, and before I was old. It shrunk a little bit. So it is built a little bit higher. My wife and children, they struggle with it a little bit because it is high. It's a 5/8 plate top. It's 11 feet long, 4 feet wide, and I've got it built where I can keep all my clamps. My grinders are all on the other side. A couple other things I do, I designed into the bench when I built it. Obviously, I've got MIG gun holders all the way around it, so when I'm MIGging, I can just put my hot MIG gun in there. Also, you saw we used it for the TIG torch today. Mm-hmm. But because I do mechanicking work too, and I work on all the farm equipment, the backhoes, and all the stuff around here, I have two almost identical vices on opposite ends of the bench so that if I get long shafting, I can grab both ends of that shaft in two spots and do work down on one end. Right. And it's the workbench probably weighs, I'm guessing without all the stuff on it, just the vices, I think it weighs around 2,400 pounds because it starts to tip the tractor at 20. That's right about the tip point, 2,400 pounds.
Right.
So it's heavy.
What we got back here?
Well, we just got a typical, standard bench grinder, 3/4 horsepower bench grinder. The next thing, I'm a big fan of Ellis equipment, and this is an Ellis belt grinder. Basically, it takes the place of this grinder by using a belt, and it will hog metal off ridiculously fast. I've never been able to stall it. I've never had any issues with it. I just know that I never want to get my finger caught in it because that's the last time you're going to see your finger. Right next to it, I also have an Ellis drill press. This is a really neat drill press. I've owned about 5 drill presses now, and without going, which I'm a big fan of old equipment, but without going and buying like an old Powermatic or old drill press and restoring it, this is about the best drill press I've been able to find on the market. Now, granted, it's not a precision piece of equipment, it's just a drill press, but it has a VFD, it has power feed on it, it'll power tap. It has 2-speed power feed on it, and it's all assembled right here in the USA. I talked to the owner of Ellis, and he said, look, I can't afford to founder all of the parts here. Some of them are foundered overseas, but every one of these is made right here in the United States of America, which I found very appealing. Toolboxes? The red toolbox is all mechanics toolbox. Back in, as they say, back in WW2, I used to turn a lot of wrenches. I used to be mechanicking. So it's just full of, lifetimes full of tools, collecting mechanics tools. Then right next to it is my little hydraulic press. It's a 20-ton hydraulic press. Right on top of it is one of the swag off-road 20-ton brake presses, so I can bend a lot of little small pieces of metal here without going to somebody. And then right down here past that is, the Keith Rucker Mr. P222 toolbox. It's full of end mills, gauge blocks, everything you can imagine for being over at the milling machine, doing milling and precision work.
Love the wooden box here, and it looks like it's got a little bit of history in there. Tell us about this.
Well, we actually have Keith Rucker to thank for this. I got a phone call from Keith that said, hey, this might be right down the street from you. You might want to go look at it. It looks interesting. And so, curiosity killed the cat, right? So I had to go look at it, and this was on Craigslist. Yep. And you found it and told me to go look at it and see what I thought. And you said, I've got enough tools. Well, if there's anything you want, go ahead. So I wound up getting it at a very fair price, and it's completely full of all the original machinist. I think it was a sort of a machinist tool and die maker from kind of what I gather. All of this stuff is in here, and it's a really, really neat box for a lot of reasons. So, this is a wood Gershner box. I'm not exactly sure how old it is. It's completely full of tools, just like the person that owned it, he is deceased. Well, it was full of, the family didn't know anything about what it was. They just basically wanted it out of their way. What I think is really neat about this toolbox is a couple of things. There's pictures in here, and I'm trying to date some of these pictures just looking at the clothes and stuff that they're wearing. This is a picture of a baby on some kind of little baby carriage. My dad was born in '36, I believe, and I have pictures of him on the similar type little baby carriage, roundabout, like a little bouncy thing like we would have nowadays. So a lot of these pictures are very, very old. Obviously, maybe the children or grandchildren or nieces and nephews. This picture is kind of cool if you use 38 to 40, that area of time, as a kind of a benchmark, just trying to guesstimate where it is. This woman here is very scantily dressed for that period of time. So this would have been like a Snap-on girl poster, of the time. A really neat box. It's got a lot of his own personal stuff in it, his own personal notebook. I've kind of felt like there's a lot of stuff in this box I don't have, but a majority of it is duplicates for me. But I just couldn't bring myself to break the toolbox up. I think there's a lot of history in it. So I've just kind of left it together. My original thought was that I would pull everything out and put it into all my boxes, and it would be, tools for the shop. But after I kind of got the feel for the box, I just kind of felt like, man, it's kind of wrong of me. Maybe I'm crazy, but to break it up, I just kind of want to leave it like it is, at least for a little while. I think it's just so neat.
It's beautiful, and it's got such history. And a lot of stuff. He's got where he came in here and actually fitted the drawers to hold different tools.
All the drawers are
fits in there just exactly right. I thought this one was neat. This one actually has multiple layers in it. Yeah, there we go. So the top tray pull that out if you can. And there's another layer up underneath it of fitted stuff. It's just
a lot of time. And you can tell. Pride in your work. Yeah, pride in your work. You can just tell that this was where he made his living. This was his life right here in this box. And it smells like mothballs still. It does, and it's a treasure. I think I'd do the same thing. I'd leave it as a museum piece just like it is. I kind of feel the same way, and I can't say that I'm going to leave it like that forever, but I just couldn't break it up. I just couldn't. I like it just the way it is. And in that collection of stuff came some little bits and tidbits, and some of the stuff we couldn't even figure out what it was today. But it's just hey, this all went with it. We don't really know what it is. And I've been sorting through it. It's been a lot of fun. Cool. I appreciate the lead on this, by the way. So the other prerequisite machine shop tool, you just got to have the milling machine. So. You got to. I don't know how I ever got by without one. I sometimes almost find this more useful than the lathe. Not that you can substitute one with the other, but I just don't know how I ever got by without it. This is a Pro Mill. If you watch Tom Lipton's channel, Ox Tools, he has an Acra. This is the exact same mill he has under a rebranded different name, it's a Bridgeport clone. Mm-hmm. It's a 54-inch bed model. It's pretty tight. The only thing I've added to it since I got it is the 3-axis power feeds. I just got tired of cranking it up and down, up and down, up and down. So I did spring for the power feeds on it. Everything seems to be true. The table's real tight. It has a 2-axis DRO on it. Everything functions and works. And really the only thing besides putting the power feeds on I've had to do is replace the drive belt up there. Drive belt finally gave out on it. Well, so we'll start back here. This is my Gershner toolbox. This is where all my machining instrumentation and such as 1, 2, 3 blocks and parallels and everything are all in here. And so it's nice to have something a little different. And then these are 2 welding machines that don't get exercised much like I used to. I used to build a lot of stainless and aluminum sewer plant type parts for water plants, sewer plants, that kind of thing. This is a Python C300. I'm sorry, this is a C300 with a Python push-pull gun on it for welding aluminum. When you do a lot of aluminum seams, it speeds up aluminum welding. And then this is a 350 MP with just a standard MIG gun on it. I run a lot of stainless, so the pulse programs in it work really well for welding up stainless. Don't do a lot of that anymore. Since I've had children, I've kind of stopped doing a lot of the extra work that when you're single and you don't mind being up and gone and whatever. Now I want to be here with my children, so I've kind of stopped doing as much of that kind of work. They still are sitting right here ready to go should I ever decide to take up that line of work again. All right, well, I've got a blast cabinet. It's an Empire blast cabinet, and there's something a little bit unique about this blast cabinet that I like. I've had to modify it a little bit to make it fit in the space, but one of the things I really like about this blast cabinet is not only does the door open this way, but the door opens up like this. Most blast cabinets open on the side, and when they open on the side, you've got to leave a side open to load or unload them, and this one loads from the front. It's got a Trenco dust reclamation vac on it, I guess you will. The one that went in there went bad, and I found this one for a steal on Craigslist, of all things. And what you have here is probably my first piece of Ellis equipment. This is an Ellis 1800 horizontal bandsaw. That's what started selling me on Ellis equipment when I first got this. I bought it used. It came with the in-feed, out-feed roller. This thing is so precise, you can cut a 45-degree angle on a piece of square tube steel, less than a 1/16 of an inch thick, and it'll cut it the same thickness all the way through. It's pretty rare to find a saw that'll hold that much true without spending a lot of money. And these are somewhat reasonably priced for a small to medium-sized shop. This is I say a future project for mine. It's not really a project. It runs, it operates, functions, everything's good. It needs a lot of little things tuned on it. This is my new love. This is a dual bandsaw, and this dual I bought from a friend of mine, and I was actually with him when he bought it. And I'm going to go through the whole thing and just bring everything up to speed. It functions, operates fine. I bought some new belts for it. I haven't put the new belts on it yet. Originally, I was going to go full Keith Rucker and strip it down and repaint it and make it all look brand new. But after kind of looking at it, I found out it's a 1957. This is not the correct color for it. However, it has that certain 1957 sexiness about it. The colors, the way that styling is. So what I think I'm going to do is just take it outside in the yard, spray a little degreaser on it, pressure wash it, bring it back in. Since everything functions, we're just going to tighten any loose screws, lube anything that needs to be lubed, a good cleaning, new belts, and keep it in service. Something that's neat about this saw, it has a wheel up here to tell you your blade feed speeds. Well, if you look over there, it gives you all the different materials you can cut with it. One of the materials is meteorite. So if anybody needs their meteorite cut, please let me know. The dual bandsaw apparently can cut meteorites. Well, so this is a Dvorak Little Scotchman Ironworker, a 35-ton model. And you can see I've got it. It looks like it's disassembled, but it's actually not. Somebody had welded some in-feed and out-feed rollers for the shear, or guides, I guess if you will, for the shear on here. And the thing was as wide as this bay is. So what I did is I cut them off, and I'm going to design so that they'll fold up and store on the side here. I'm just keeping them here because I don't have anywhere else to put the parts right now, and I don't want to put them in the weather. If anyone's not familiar with what this... So what an ironworker does is it shears and punches material, typically dimensional stuff like flat, round, angle. There is, in here, is a shear. You can put up to a 3-inch piece of angle iron in here, step on the pedal, hydraulically it'll go down and shear that piece of angle perfect. Beats waiting on a bandsaw to make 100 cuts. You can also miter the edges of that angle in here, it'll do miters. Right here it has a shear, it'll cut flats, rounds, that kind of stuff. And you can do the same thing, you can put it in a 45. It's got a little guide on here, you can't see it, it's full of paint. Also has a punch. The punch is actually one of the main reasons I bought this. I'm getting ready to build a 35-foot tall water tower, 1,000-gallon water tower on the property. I'm going to build it from scratch. And how much nicer is it when you got to put all of the bolt holes in it, not to have to drill every single hole, but just to put it in here, step on a pedal, and it'll punch. I think this one will punch up to an inch or inch and a quarter hole and a 1/4 inch plate. So I've ordered I have the right dies for it now. I've got the blueprints all done. This is sort of in a state of restoration, getting ready for that big job.
It's like you got a lot of power and stuff hanging around the ceiling in here.
I do. The shop has, for this shop, it has a 400 amp service just for the shop. I hate when the compressor starts and the lights all have to dim down, so I wanted to put a plenty big service in here, and we don't have 3-phase. So I have an American Rotary phase converter, very similar to the one you have in your shop out back. When I wired this, when I bought the farm here, this building was essentially just a shell, full of trash, no doors, no electricity, not even the apron out in front of the shop. There was nothing. So everything you see, I got to build the way I wanted it. Every outlet, every 230 volt outlet is on its own breaker. So it doesn't, there's not shared breakers. Also, there's only 2 to 3 receptacles maximum all the way around the shop for 110 volt. Also, one of my biggest pet peeves is extension cords. I hate extension cords laying on the floor. It makes me, air hoses too, makes me crazy. So the way I've designed my shop, if you look around, you'll see there's power reel, air hose reel, air hose reel. Even the welder outlets, some people comment on them, they can see them curled up. They're up on a hook in the attic there. I can just unhook them and bring them down, plug in the welding machine, do what I'm welding, hook them back up, and I'm not constantly tripping over cords. I hate that. It drives me crazy. The shop is wired, I'll call it heavy, with power and with wire. Electrician buddy of mine started doing the calculation one time, and he said I have about 5 miles of wire in here. I don't know whether that's true or not. I've actually never tried to figure it out, but it's got a lot of wire. Same with the air hoses. All the air hoses are up in the attic so that I don't have to trip over air hoses either.
Nice. Well, Jim, I appreciate you taking time today to not only give me my welding lesson, but to share with everybody your shop and tell a little bit about what you do here. Hopefully folks will enjoy it. I know I always enjoy seeing how other people set up their shops, and just I learn something new every time I see somebody do stuff.
And that's what I've tried to do here, is take a little bit of something from everybody else.
Great.
Well, I appreciate you coming out here today and spending time with me. Man, we've had a ball.
We've had a ball, and now I got to drive 4 hours home.
Yeah.
It's great to see you, man.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Guys, that's going to be a wrap on this episode. So go check out Jim's channel if you haven't already. And if you haven't already, subscribe to mine as well. So, and with that, we're going to sign off. Thanks for watching.
We'll see you real soon.